This reminds me though of my universal breast theory or hypothesis, I'll say.
Well, you tell me yours.
All right, mine. Because I was on the internet this morning, and there was some art. I wanted to read something stupid, so I went to the Huffington Post, and there was an article about somebody wrote an article about why men love breasts, and I just read the headline. I didn't. I skimmed it. It was stupid, or it appeared stupid. I'll say that in defense of the authors, but I just remember seeing that and being like, everybody loves breasts. What are they talking about? Because I always go back to the place of, the assumption is just men love breasts. Well, straight women love their own breasts. All women love their own breasts. So right there, you've taken care of straight women and lesbians, but lesbians seem to have an appreciation for other women's breasts.
Is this what you're saying or the articles?
This is what I'm saying, sorry.
I don't know. I'm going to agree with you about 90% of the time, but I know some women who hate their own breasts. So, but it's because they don't like the way they look.
But they like breasts.
Oh, okay.
But they may not be happy with the size or the shape or whatever, the poikiness, but they still like breasts.
Writing that down. Okay.
And from my experience, there are actually a lot of gay men that appreciate breasts. Like even though, if you mention vagina, and they're like, oh, no good. But breasts are kind of like, oh, okay. Like they're straight friends. They're like, hey, let me grab some breast. And it's like, what are you doing? It's like, I don't know, they're fun.
They're fun.
Yeah. So I'm proposing the universal breast hypothesis. Everybody, regardless of their sexual orientation, even if they don't fit into those categories I mentioned, everybody loves breasts. Not everybody loves penis.
That would have been a far better show than Everybody Loves Raymond.
I think it's on the Spice Channel.
Everybody Loves Breasts. Man, if we hadn't already picked Bad Guy Labs, it totally would have been what
we've got our first spinoff.
Everybody Loves Breasts.
I think there's something to that.
It won't feature some jackass who gets browbeaten by all the
breasts.
Women breastbeaten, standing there just being a completely incompetent example of an emasculated male, which in my opinion is what Everybody Loves Raymond was. Just standing there like, I was talking about my kids the other day, my wife was mad at me and I was wrong. Yeah, Everybody Loves Breasts. Who wouldn't watch that show?
I don't think that, but that follows exactly from my hypothesis.
Based on
who wouldn't watch that show?
Based on universal breast theory, we've determined in our marketing department what the best show of all time could ever be.
It's true, especially if you do it right, because that's what people get wrong. I think is only catering to straight guys. And I'm sure it has to do something with presentation or whatever. The character depth.
Breasts.
There's a way to do it. Now don't let me lose you.
Okay, I'm sticking here. I'm staying.
All right.
I'm gonna stay attached to this. Keep on. I'll just pinch myself once in a while.
All right. But actually, there wasn't a whole lot more to say.
That's good because I'm having a hard time focusing right now.
Fair enough.
Well. I think what we need to do is we will consider the ramifications of these various kinds of restaurants that we've come up with, and if anybody out there thinks up either verification or falsification of anything we've said, send it in.
Yeah, and
we'll consider it.
Well, let me clarify too with the gay restaurants. It doesn't count if it's just a restaurant that a bunch of gay guys happen to like. Like that kind of doesn't count,
right?
Like, because that's not the point of a gay bar.
Yeah,
it isn't just like, all the gay guys in town decided they really loved Flappies and started going there.
Worst bar name ever.
I agree. That's why that's not my job. It has to be, something open exclusively for that purpose. To cater to a certain demographic.
Yeah, so I think it's all. This is what I like to do. I like to tie everything together in a nice, neat bow whenever possible. So, as I said earlier in the show, unfalsifiable hypotheses are bad. So, that applies throughout. So even when we're just fucking around talking about gay restaurants, thinking up weird, crazy shit, this is sort of a bit of, this is where we want to cover science and interesting components of reality and how we can know things. But we also like to just sort of engage in a free kind of associative exercise.
Oh, without doubt.
Engage in our fair share of idle speculation. But, if anybody comes up with anything interesting, perhaps some more delicious dick-shaped foods. Or if you could refute that and come up with some completely horrid dick-shaped foods.
Right. That's a good point.
I can think of one right off the bat, and it was those animal dicks that they fed to people on Fear Factor.
Oh, I kind of don't count that, though.
Those were dick-shaped foods.
But they're dicks already. It doesn't count.
Dick-shaped?
Oh.
Technicality, I know.
Oh, I don't know.
I know.
I'm going to have to think about that one.
I see where you're going with this, but I'm gonna go on the technicality here and say that it's at least one example. So dick-shaped, delicious. Actual dick.
Not so much,
Not so
apparently.
delicious, I guess. Well, unless you're in a gay restaurant, and then, I don't know, maybe a bunch of gay dudes would love to have, like, a bunch of animal dicks cooked up, sauteed with some garlic or whatever. I don't know. And, like, if they're gay guys, they're, like, fine with, like, eating dick, so. But I'm the bad guy, so.
You'll know if there's showers at the gay restaurant, too.
Okay. How do you mean that? I mean, I'll know if there's showers at the restaurant, or I'll know if there's showers at the restaurant.
Not like you'll be prescient and somehow just know that they're there, but like you'll know that somehow dick-shaped foods make dick adventures better.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I'm gonna really.
Well, because you could order your banana sundae and then disappear.
Yeah. I'm going to really make a push for this shower thing in
more restaurants.
More restaurants.
Or more bars.
Whatever. I'm not going to be picky about that. So one final thing that I wanted to cover was yet another item in the bag of dirty tricks associated with the con game. Something, that's very closely related to bullshit detection is really quickly... illegal telemarketers. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there are telemarketers out there that are legitimate businesses, and they have to like abide by like the Federal Trade Commission and all the rules that are set up.
That do not call registry.
Yeah, all these governmental bodies that are out there, which there are many, and so most of those guys are fine. But then there are these rogue telemarketers that just ignore all the rules, and they move their headquarters all the time, and a lot of times they get arrested and then new ones take their place, and they'll typically call you with some message that's vague but close enough that it might fool you into thinking they actually are legitimate. So you'll hear a message that says, please call us regarding your current credit card account, or you'll get one where they're trying to renew like a warranty on a car. And a lot of times, they just call everybody. And, some people get called and they don't own a car. So it's obvious to them that it's a scam.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be people that are calling you regarding something like your electric bill. And will try to get you to... They'll say something like you're past due on it. And, you can pay it now over the phone. And you may or may not be past due. And you may or may not, whatever. They're just fishing for people to give them credit card numbers on the phone.
Oh, yeah. So,
and there are not a whole lot of things you can do. You can make a complaint to the FTC, but they don't really do anything about it. They just collect these complaints, and they track down some of these guys, but new ones pop up. The do not call list doesn't do anything because they're ignoring it. That's sort of the gist of why they're illegal in the first place.
Right.
Basically, all you can do is don't answer the phone. I've answered the phone before and hit 0 to, At first, I hit 0, trying to get on the do not call list that they say they keep, because that's one of their options. But it's just a thing they made up, and it's not real. And all it does is make them call you more.
Oh shit!
And so then I went through a phase for a while where I was taunting them and trying to waste as much of their time as possible. But you can only do that for so long, and I got stuff to do. And I put in, a few funny calls regarding that. Just calling the person on the other end like a loser, and how much of a loser they are, and how much I'm like more of a winner in every possible way because I don't have their shitty job. And on and on and on I went. But all that did in one case was that person got super mad at me. One person challenged me to a fist fight and told me to go to this certain address, but I Google mapped it and it was an address that didn't exist, so he was a big pussy. And then another woman...
That's hilarious.
Another woman just kept calling me back, like would just ring my phone over and over again just to sort of punish me for calling her a loser. But I have an internet phone, a voice over internet protocol, and so I just unplugged my phone router, and it sends out a message that says the lines have been disconnected. And that solves that problem.
No shit.
I just unplugged it and then replugged it back in, and the person was, gave up. So, if you want to have some fun, you can hit zero and taunt these people, but it won't really get you anywhere. Although it is sort of soothing to somebody like me who's very confrontational and opposes appeasement at every turn to just try to sort of browbeat these people and demoralize them. But there's just an army of them and they just keep coming. So
that is the unfortunate thing about that shit. I've gotten that on my cell phone. I thought I'd be reasonably safe from that shit on my cell phone, but both my wife and I have gotten those illegal telemarketer calls, and it freaked her out at first where it said, oh, there's a problem with your credit card. And I was like, they didn't mention the bank name or the credit card company name. They didn't mention shit. They just, oh, there's problem with your credit card, you gotta call us. And I was like, sounds like horse shit.
Yeah, they're vague enough but yet specific enough where they can grab. They're just fishing is all that is.
Well, they're trying to activate like your anxiety centers.
They're trying to make you use the affect heuristic.
Yes, they are.
So don't fall for it. And I'm to the point now where it's no longer fun to taunt them. I basically exhausted everything I can think of to say to them.
Right.
And they just keep every once in a while. Sometimes there'll be months that go by where I don't get a call from them, and then there'll be like a spurt of them, and then and sometimes they'll scramble the caller ID with random numbers that are meaningless. Sometimes there'll be a phone number that looks legit, but it's just nothing. Sometimes there'll just be nothing in the caller ID period. There's nothing you can really do other than it's just a part of life, much like piracy. And, like...
Especially if you spend a lot of time in the Horn of Africa.
So,
or near it.
As much of an advocate as I am for piracy, not this kind of piracy, I'm more of the type of pirate that wants to appreciate art forms and things like that, and ideas for exchange of ideas. This is just trying to get your credit card number. There's nothing good about this.
Yeah.
So all you can really do is, from what I did some research on it, and it's trying to find a way to nail these assholes, but it just isn't really one, and you just have to live with it as part of your life now. On the one hand, you have to deal with these assholes calling you and leaving messages on your machine. On the other hand, we have antibiotics and vaccines. So all things being equal, it's a pretty decent life. So
yeah, it's not too bad. It's just something to be, be primed for, be aware of. That these things exist. That putting your... That it's not just as simple as like, oh, some telemarketers are getting through. You know what I mean? They're penetrating the veil of the do not call registry. Yeah. These are people that never wanted to, never cared. They're not actually trying to sell you like, I don't know, a dual purpose mop and oven cleaner or some sort of stupid shit like that. They're just trying to steal from you.
Yeah. And somehow I've read, and I don't know if this is true, I guess I could see in some cases, depending on how it's set up right, some of the workers in these call centers don't know it's a scam. They just think they're working for a company. And they're just innocent dupes in all this, just working a job, trying to get a paycheck. So you can't even always blame them. They're ignorant of everything. So you just have to live with it, what it comes down to. But be aware. I guess that's about all the time we have for this week. We hope you've had fun with us as usual. Remember, don't worry about shit so much. Feel good about yourself if you're not hurting anybody else. And chill the fuck out, even if other people don't want to.
Definitely. So please tell a friend about the show and spread the word. We rely heavily on you. Keep this facility afloat. As I mentioned earlier, and just reiterating as usual, our music is provided by The Grease. You can find links to them on our Facebook page, which is Bad Guy Labs. You can also follow us on Twitter at Bad Guy Labs. Just please do that. Tweet at us. You can also, or twat at us. Twat. I said twat. That's weird. Or you can email us at BadGuyLabsChannel at gmail.com. As usual, no periods, spaces, dashes, any of that stuff. So until next time, I am Cole Koenig on behalf of Jason Emerson, saying eat as many dick-shaped foods as possible, and don't be afraid to be a bad guy.